Nvidia has announced it will work with Samsung to create a new AI mega factory as part of the deal. The South Korean company is set to deploy more than 50,000 Nvidia GPUs, and the two companies will collaborate on high bandwidth memory chips. Hyundai will also use 50,000 Nvidia chips in a new AI factory. And South Korea's presidential office says more than 260,000 GPUs will be deployed across the public and private sector.
CEO Jensen Huang told the Apex CEO Summit that AI chips and infrastructure have changed how we think about computing.
AI runs on GPUs, whereas hand-coded software runs on CPUs. This entire software stack, from the needs of energy, chips, the infrastructure, all of the software associated with the systems, the AI models, and the applications on top, every single layer of computing has been fundamentally changed. Just think, the computer industry has been largely the same for 60 years. And now, with AI and accelerated computing, every single layer of the computing stack is being changed. All of the computers we've created in the past, $1 trillion, maybe more, of computers needs to now be transitioned, shifted to the new computing platform.
Well, Dan Ives joins us, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities. Dan, just back from Asia as well. Fleshing out this Nvidia news, we're hearing the 50,000 chips that will be bought by Samsung, 50,000 by SK Group, 50,000 by Hyundai Group, by the South Korean government, and also by Navo that'll buy 60,000 Nvidia chips, pooling together 260,000. It's not the same as the amount we saw from UAE, the 500,000. But what does this do in terms of justifying that $5 trillion market cap for Nvidia this week?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a watershed deal, especially for South Korea. Because if you look, they've kind of been on the outside looking in. Of course, they have SK Hynix on the memory side, but this is huge. Because if you look at what Samsung's doing, look, this really gets them into that AI revolution party and really the build out. And that's very important also for NVIDIA. I mean, they're putting a stake in the ground, which is huge because there's one chip in the world fueling the AI revolution, and that's led by godfather of AI, Jensen, NVIDIA. But now South Korea, they're not on the outside looking in. They are deep right now in this AI revolution thesis. And that's why it's very important for the government. I was just there in South Korea. This is an extremely important deal to do it with the gold standard NVIDIA.
Dan, we're seeing a lot of these deals, and the reality is Nvidia is the partner to the world. So a lot of companies are very keen to ensure this build out of AI is not just a few names in Silicon Valley. And while that may be happening now, you've got all these South Korean names from Samsung to SK Group all in the mix. Is this telling us that it is a single play Nvidia investment for people to look at now because it is going to be the partner? It's not as broad-based as it could be across Silicon Valley, but Nvidia is just going to be still a pivotal company for investors here.
Yeah, well, Nvidia, I mean, in my opinion, we're looking at what's going to be actually a $6 trillion market cap, over the next 12 to 18 months. But I think the important thing is that it's spreading to the second, third, fourth derivatives across the rest of tech. Because, look at all the earnings from all the hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, off the chart. CapEx that continues to really be a CapEx super cycle. We see it with Meta and others. But it all starts with foundationally NVIDIA as well as OpenAI. And we see those deals there too. But we're talking about fourth industrial revolution. And that's why it's our view this is a tech bull market next 2 to 3 years.
Dan, where does this all leave China? There was talk that the Blackwell chips could be part of the Trump-Xi discussions this week. President Trump then saying he's going to leave it to Beijing to speak to NVIDIA directly. How important is the China market to NVIDIA right now? And how important is NVIDIA to China right now?
Yeah, look, there's 20 billion reasons a year why Jensen wants that market back, right? You don't want to go 95% market share to 0%. I mean, China, and you see innovation that's, I've seen it firsthand, expanding significantly, in China in terms of not just on the chip side, but robotics and technology. And in this AI arms race, NVIDIA wants access to that market, but it comes down to the biggest chip on the poker table for Trump is NVIDIA. And that's why I would be shocked if NVIDIA does not get what I'll say re-access to that market over the next 3 to 6 months in terms of these negotiations.
Dan, what could derail the Nvidia story here? It seems like it simply just goes from strength to strength now. Its market cap is larger than the entire market cap of 5 of the 7 G7 economies. I mean, the stock has been absolutely astounding this year. But what could derail the story?
Look, ironically, and it's still, I think it's still inexpensive, relative to where I think numbers are going to go over the next 2 to 3 years. Look, when you said what could derail all this, I don't think it's US, China. I think it just comes down to probably in 2 years, you hit power supply issues, specifically like in the US. You really need to expand from a nuclear perspective, as in names like ACO or names that we're bullish on. But we're going to have, it's more supply constraints quarter to quarter. That will be an issue. But we've talked about it. This AI party, it started at 9 p.m. It's now 10:30, 10:45 p.m. That party goes to 4 a.m.
As CEO Jensen Huang met with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and the leaders of the nation's largest corporations on the fringes of the APEC meeting, the U.S. tech company Nvidia said on Friday that it will send 160,000 of its most advanced chips to South Korea. Two of the top memory chip manufacturers in the world, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, are based in South Korea. They produce chips that are necessary for artificial intelligence products and the data centers that the rapidly changing industry depends on. In addition, President Lee has stated that he hopes the nation would surpass China and the United States as the third largest AI power in the world. Huang described that objective as ambitious in a media interview following the announcement. However, he asserted that Korea has the technology, software know-how, and innate capacity to establish manufacturing facilities. Therefore, there is no reason why the country cannot succeed. This geopolitical battle has caught Nvidia in the middle. Due to a mix of ongoing trade disputes, Beijing government bans, and U.S. national security concerns, its chips are now not marketed in China. To guarantee that Silicon Valley companies continue to be a global leader in artificial intelligence, Huang has urged the U.S. to permit the sale of AI chips manufactured in the U.S. and China. Huang told reporters on Friday that the Chinese and U.S. governments must determine what role they want Nvidia to play. He stated, "I have been very clear that having Nvidia technology in China is in the best interest of both China and the United States. I'm hopeful," he continued. He responded, "I hope so," when asked if he wanted the Blackwell, Nvidia's most advanced chip, to be marketed in China. But it is up to President Trump to decide that. This week in Gyeongju, U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping discussed Nvidia's chips. In order to circumvent Washington's export limitations on the vital component that powers AI systems, Beijing has accelerated its semiconductor manufacturing. A new AI factory, being constructed by Samsung Electronics, will receive 50,000 of the graphics processing units as part of Friday's agreement. According to the Korean tech giant, Samsung plans to integrate AI into every step of its production process by implementing over 50,000 NVIDIA GPUs. Additionally, 50,000 chips will be given to Hyundai Motor Group and SK Group for use in AI facilities. The largest search engine in South Korea, run by Naver Cloud, will get 60,000 to develop its AI infrastructure. An additional 50,000 will be distributed to cloud service and IT providers, as well as throughout Seoul's National AI Computing Center. During his tour this week, Huang has aimed to establish stronger connections with South Korean tech companies. As the South Korean chipmaker tries to catch up to competitors in the AI chip race, Samsung Electronics, which opens a new tab, announced on Friday that it is in close discussion to supply Nvidia with its next-generation high-bandwidth memory, HBM chips, or HBM4. Samsung has not stated when it hopes to ship the most recent iteration of its HBM chip, a crucial component of artificial intelligence chipsets, although it intends to market the new chip next year. Nvidia's leading HBM chip supplier, local rival SK Hynix, stated on Wednesday that it plans to increase sales of its most recent HBM4 chips the next year and begin shipping them in the fourth quarter. Without providing further details, Nvidia stated in a statement announcing its partnership with Samsung that it is in a crucial supply agreement for HBM3E and HBM4. In a different agreement, Samsung announced that it would buy 50,000 expensive Nvidia chips to construct an AI-enhanced semiconductor plant that would increase chip production yields and speed. Following the disclosures, Samsung's stock price increased by as high as 4.32%. Lee cited more than 20 years of cooperation and stated that Nvidia is a significant client and strategic partner. According to Jeff Kim, head of research at KB Securities, Samsung is generally viewed as being in a favorable position given its production capability, but HBM4 probably requires more testing. According to Kim, Nvidia might gain a sizable market share if Samsung provides HBM4 chips to the company, something it was unable to do with earlier HBM series devices. Samsung's poorer profits performance and reorganization of its chip division last year were the result of its delayed adoption of the AI-driven memory chip boom. The demand for traditional memory chips drove its profitability recovery in the most recent quarter. Saying this week that it offers its current generation HBM3E chips to all related customers means that it has joined competitors in providing Nvidia with the newest 12-layer HBM3E chips. Analysts predicted that the introduction of HBM4 chips would be a significant test of Samsung's capacity to reclaim its market leadership. Originally developed in 2013, HBM is a form of dynamic random access memory, DRAM, standard that uses vertical chip stacking to save power and space while processing the massive amounts of data produced by sophisticated AI applications. Investors are keeping an eye on Samsung's HBM4 to see if it will overtake SK hynix as the market leader in advanced memory chips. The chipmaker, which is also a major producer of smartphones, announced in July that it had given HBM4 samples to clients and that it would start supplying them the following year. Due to investors' expectations that the chipmaker will profit from the present rally in memory prices and advance in the AI race, Samsung's share price has increased by almost 60% since July. According to Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, advancements in AI models were generating additional funding for the technology, which in turn was advancing AI in a virtuous cycle. Speaking at the APEC CEO Summit in South Korea, Huang emphasized that the present surge in AI capital expenditure was driven mostly by profitability. "We are at the start of a new technical period that will take 10 years to develop," he added. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, declared on Friday that artificial intelligence had entered a virtuous cycle, indicating that the sector would continue to expand. During his speech at the APEC CEO Summit in South Korea, Huang claimed that the significant advancements in AI models were encouraging additional investment in the field, which in turn was enhancing the models even more. Wearing a suit instead of his typical black leather jacket, he stated on stage during the event that we have now accomplished what is known as the virtual cycle. The AIs improve. It is used by more people. It is used by more people, generates more revenue, and builds more factories, all of which enable us to develop even more advanced AIs. The world's capital expenditures are increasing at a rapid pace due to the design of the virtual cycle of AI. His remarks coincide with big tech investing billions to develop AI-related infrastructure and support its customers. With Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft announcing plans to invest over $300 billion together on AI technology and data center buildouts, this year was predicted to be a significant one for AI spending. According to their individual earnings reports this week, the tech titans intend to increase spending once more. Thus, this trend appears to be continuing into 2026. Following Huang's remarks on stage, Dan Ives, global head of technology research at Wedbush Securities, told CNBC that Nvidia is the cornerstone of the AI revolution. He defined the AI virtuous cycle as follows. As demand increases, more AI building blocks are produced. Additionally, demand generates higher capital expenditures. Huang emphasized that the present surge in AI capital investment was driven mostly by profitability. Whenever something becomes a profit, you want to produce more of it. For example, if you were making chips, wafers, and DRAM, you would want to construct more facilities to produce more chips, he continued. A new computing era. With AI, every tier of the computing stack is undergoing a fundamental transformation, marking the start of a new era in computing, Huang declared on stage. He went on to say that we are just beginning the 10-year build-out of this new era. While hand-coded software uses a central processing unit, CPU, AI uses a GPU. According to him, every single layer of computing has undergone a fundamental transformation, including the infrastructure, processors, energy requirements, AI models, and applications on top of all of the software. Imagine that after 60 years of essentially unchanged computer technology, AI and faster computing are now transforming every tier of the computing stack. He went on to say that all of the computers we have built in the past, $1 trillion worth or more, need to be moved to the new computing platform. Huang envisioned a time when artificial intelligence might do more than just serve as a tool. It could work. The CEO anticipates that artificial intelligence will transform $100 trillion worth of sectors globally, pointing to the growth of completely automated manufacturing facilities. On Friday, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang expressed his hope that the company's cutting-edge Blackwell processors might be sold in China, but he acknowledged that U.S. President Donald Trump would have to make the final decision. Huang, who is making his first official trip to South Korea in over 10 years, said he was happy that the meeting between Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping went well, but he did not know what the two presidents discussed. Following the discussions on Thursday, Trump informed reporters on Air Force One that China would be speaking with Nvidia and other companies about stealing chips, and that semiconductors had been mentioned. Trump clarified, however, that we're not talking about the Blackwell. We always hope to go back to China, and I believe Nvidia is excellent there. The United States will benefit most from it. According to Huang, it's ideal for China. Therefore, I'm optimistic that both governments would eventually reach an agreement that would allow Nvidia's technology to be transferred to China. As the US and China compete for supremacy in artificial intelligence and high-end computing power, one of the main points of contention has been the degree of China's access to Nvidia's chips. In an effort to curb China's technological advancements, especially in areas that could benefit its military, Washington has placed export restrictions on the country's purchases of Nvidia's most cutting-edge AI chips. Huang has attempted to convince the Trump administration to relax the regulations, arguing that America benefited from China's reliance on American hardware. According to earlier reports, Nvidia has been developing a new chip for China based on its most recent Blackwell architecture. It will be more potent than the H20, the most sophisticated model it is presently permitted to sell there, but less capable than the type offered outside the nation. However, the Chinese government has been chilly toward Nvidia, opposing the acquisition of the H20 and instead supporting homegrown chipmakers like Huawei, despite the fact that private Chinese enterprises are reportedly greatly interested in the technology. Nvidia had hoped for non-zero market share in China, but Huang informed reporters that it now expects zero. China's own domestically created AI processors were good enough for their military uses, he continued. Therefore, U.S. national security concerns that the Chinese military could employ U.S. technology were illogical. Additionally, he stated that it would be foolish to undervalue Huawei's extraordinary spirit of competition since the company last month revealed its intentions to rival Nvidia in the AI processor market. To believe that Huawei is incapable of developing systems is incredibly ignorant, he remarked. It is a mistake to undervalue China's power and Huawei's amazing spirit of competition. This business has incredible technology. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.